So like Andy said, my name is Meghan Ludvigsen, and I'm going to talk to you today about how to get buy-in for new market research methods from senior management and budget holders, which is very long and very complicated. Or just kind of boring. When I sat down to really write this presentation, I wanted to spice it up a little bit. And there's something I think you should know about me. And that is that I am a very proud graduate of the University of Wisconsin-Madison. And I don't know how many of you follow college basketball, but my Badgers had quite a run at this most recent NCAA tournament. And they had a mantra throughout the entire tournament. Does anyone know what that was? It was make 'em believe. That was a hashtag, it was on t-shirts, it was everywhere, make 'em believe that the Badgers could do it. And so when I sat down to think about this presentation, when you want to get buy-in, really you want to make them believe. So I'm renaming this in honor of my Badgers to make 'em believe. You want buy-in, you have to make them believe. You want budget, you need to make them believe. You want someone to let you do something other than a free pilot, you have to make them believe. And another thing you should know about me is that I recently switched jobs. About a month ago, I joined Johnson & Johnson in their strategic insights group on their face care needs state, and I absolutely love it. But I worried about my credibility here a little bit because in my previous role at General Mills, I worked specifically on a methodology-focused role where I looked only at mobile and emerging technologies. And so while the goods are still the same up here, I'm now back on a brand-focused role. But I realized that actually makes me even more credible to be talking to you today because I am now on the ground doing this as well. I am working to make them believe right along with you. So that's the lens that I took this presentation through. So enough about me, let's talk about you. And the first thing you need to do, the first step in making them believe is getting smart. You need to get smart. Just wanting to do a mobile project doesn't mean someone's going to let you do a mobile project. So there are a ton of resources that are out there. This conference is a great one for you. I apologize if this slide is a little bit redundant for those of you who have been here in the past, but for your newbies in the room, here are some things I think you really need to get smart on. The first is mobile versus device agnostic. And this can be a little bit contentious depending upon the researcher you're talking to, but it's my presentation, so you're going to get my point of view. Device agnostic is not the same as mobile. Device agnostic is what it sounds like. The consumer can take your survey on any device that they want to, and the technology behind the scenes is smart enough to render that survey to fit the screen as appropriate. It's a great step into mobile, but it's not mobile. Mobile is usually done more in context. It harnesses the power of what the mobile device can do. It is designed with that respondent in mind. So there are very different things there. Don't let someone tell you that since you're doing device agnostic research, you've checked the mobile box. You haven't. You also need to be smart on reasons you have to do mobile research. We are getting to the point where we have to do it. 20 to 30% of surveys these days are what we call unintentional mobile, where the respondent is actually accessing your survey from a mobile device first, and they're either being screened out or having a subpar survey experience where they have to like pinch the screen and swipe, and it's just not great. So that should tell you something about where consumers want to be taking your survey. Also, for those of you who work on a more global level, emerging markets bypass landlines, they bypass personal computers, and they went straight to phones. Other than door-to-door, sometimes in those emerging markets, that's the only way that you're going to reach these consumers. Same goes with some of our growth targets like millennials or multiculturals. They're much more comfortable on a mobile phone, and that's where you're going to find them. So you have to do it. But you should also want to do mobile. I mean, do you have any idea how cool your phone is and how many fun things it can do? It is a GPS locator. It is a selfie taker. It is a barcode scanner. It is a video recorder. Your phone or your consumer's phone can add so much richness to your research that there's no reason that if you want to make yourself a better researcher, you should be wanting to do mobile as well. And then lastly, being smart on what mobile can do and what it can't do. Don't start with the methodology in mind. We still are researchers. We need to go back to our objectives. We need to go back to the question. Mobile is an extremely powerful tool. It can do a lot of things in a lot of places. But for example, it will never replace looking a consumer face-to-face in the eye, like in an in-depth interview. You need to know where mobile is appropriate and where it isn't. If you are just all mobile all the time, you're going to quickly lose some credibility. So now that you're super smart about mobile and you know all about it, I'm going to talk you through some common hurdles. I know these are not the only hurdles that are out there. If you want to talk offline about some that I have not put up here, happy to do that. But in my experience and in some of my peers' experience, these are what we have encountered. First one is extremely common. Meghan, I really want to do mobile. I can't even get anyone to listen to me. It's like talking to a brick wall. How can I get them to listen to me? Well, welcome to the world of wanting someone to change their behavior. It's hard to do. Acknowledge that. But the first thing is showing the value to them. The thought of what's in it for me is still very common in human behavior. It always will be. So understand what is driving the value for that stakeholder and position mobile appropriately. So is it a head of a research function and they want to have a more advanced research function? Is it a marketer who wants an answer to a business question that they've never been able to answer before? Is it a shopper person who wants to get inside of a Walmart that never allows you to do research in there? Or inside of a hospital or inside of a car? Find out what it is that's going to drive that value for them and show them how mobile can help them with that. Starting with device agnostic is also a good way to at least put some cracks in that brick wall. I know I said earlier it's not mobile research, and it's not, but it's a great baby step towards getting some of those more traditional or old school researchers who never want anything to change ever to at least dip their toe into the water of mobile research. They are okay with the fact that it can be done on a computer if the respondent wants to, but there is some mobile there as well. And it's a great way to just get them a little bit used to mobile. And lastly, adding a mobile extra onto a traditional project has been super helpful. Take a project that was going to be done anyway, and then add an extra on that's actually going to add value and that showcases the power of mobile. So don't just do something razzle-dazzle that's not really going to mean anything to the team. Instead of, like, for example, a check all that apply list, say take a picture of, and so don't check everything that applies to what's in your medicine cabinet. Take a picture of what's in your medicine cabinet and just show the team the richness of the data that you're able to get from that mobile extra. And when you do that, you'll find that you see quite a few believers coming along with you and want you to do more and more mobile. Now, if you've been able to get over that brick wall, or at least put some cracks into it, I promise the next thing you're going to hear is, I worry that the data is different. To use an overused business cliche, aren't we comparing apples and oranges? And that's a very valid concern. It's a smart concern. But there are so many ROR, or research on research resources that are out there. A lot of people have done webinars, they've done white papers, they've done studies, all very robust, telling us that really the disparity is not as great as we may think it is. It is in certain cases, particularly around product usage. But there I ask, maybe you should ask yourself, isn't this a good thing? I mean, think about yourself and the cup of coffee you had this morning. If I asked you to rate it on a scale of 1 to 10, where 10 was really good, you'd probably be able to give me a decent answer. But what about the last conference you went to and the coffee that was served there? Unless it was really bad or really good, you're probably just going to give me a generic 5 or 6. It's hard to remember that answer. So the closer that we can get to real, not recalled data, getting the consumer in the moment when they're making that decision, that is research gold. Sometimes it's a good thing that the results are different because it means we're getting closer to the truth. If you're not worried that your data is going to be different, you're worried that the data is too secret. A lot of people say, well, so I was at Wisconsin not too long ago at a panel presenting on mobile research, and one of my very good friends was in the audience. We went through the MBA program together. He's also a fellow researcher. And once we were done, I was like, so you going to start trying to do mobile research now? And he was like, no. And I was so upset because he's my friend, and I couldn't even convince him to do mobile research. But he followed up very quickly with, well, I'm in the automotive world, and all the work that we do is just so proprietary that there's no way. We're too scared that someone's going to keep something on their phone and put it up. It's going to be used for no good with a competitor. So being the person that I am, I like to play devil's advocate. And I was like, well, let's get creative here. How are some ways that you actually can use mobile in a world where you feel what you're working on is too proprietary? Blinding is always a very easy thing to do when it comes to surveying people. Let them not know exactly what it is that you're really interested in. Or burner phones. There are more mobile phones in this world than there are toothbrushes. You can't tell me that a burner phone is going to make or break a research budget. not going to happen. Or there's so many cool app developers out there these days. Can you get them to develop an app for you where the information is immediately destroyed after the survey question is answered? There are ways to get at this if you think outside the box. Also with exploratory research, I understand in innovation, the closer you get to the final product, the more proprietary it is. But when you're working in an exploratory world, you don't even know what you're going to end up with at that point in time. Why do you think the consumer would? It's a very valid time to be using mobile in this exploratory space on an ethnography or something to that effect. As you get closer to that final product, maybe it isn't the right thing, and that's okay. Like I said, part of being smart is knowing when to use mobile and when not to. And we all work for companies who work very, very hard to create great products and services and keep them secret until we're ready to let them out, and that's okay. This is my biggest pet peeve ever. This last barrier I'm going to talk about is too expensive. I have no idea how mobile got the reputation of being fast and cheap, but it drives me bananas. I can't stand it. It is my personal mission to make them believe that mobile is worth the money. For one thing, samples still cost money. That didn't ever change. We still need to talk to people. We are still asking them to take the time out of their day to answer our questions. We still have to pay them to do that. That did not go away. On the flip side, you can always build to objectives and budget. Usually what I do as a client is I ask my supplier to build me the Cadillac version that meets all of my objectives as if time and money wasn't an issue, and then I ask them to line item it, which they don't always enjoy, but it helps me because then I can take this utopian view and build my real world research project that has prioritized objectives, an actual timeline, and actual money. You can always build mobile to a specific budget. And remember, good research costs money. That trifecta of better, faster, cheaper, pick two, still holds true here. Holds true for most things in life. Mobile is not immune to that. Let's remember that good research does cost money, and mobile is not the cheap trick that you should use when nothing else was able to come through. So, end my rant on that one. Some of these were a little bit more of a defensive move. I also want to give you some offensive moves to help people believe when they didn't even know that they weren't believing in the first place. So here are some strategies to help integrate mobile into your research plans. First one is be strategic. We are all strategists whether we realize it or not. I mean, think about when you first got your driver's license and you wanted to borrow the family car. You didn't ask Dad for the keys when he came home from work and he was in a grumpy mood. You waited till Dad had decompressed, till he had eaten dinner, he had had a drink, and then you asked him for the keys to the car to go to the party on Friday night. That was your strategy. We all know how to do it. So just like teenage driving, be strategic with your mobile project. And up here I have your first mobile project, but maybe it's your first, your second, your third, your fourth, your fifth, your 10th, however long it takes for however many stakeholders you have. And don't take this as a must-do list. These are just things that will make your life easier because the objective here is to make them believe. And to make them believe, you want mobile to shine. And these are just ways to help mobile shine in your world. So first of all, your mobile project makes intuitive sense. They're not saying, wait, why are we doing this on mobile? What is it giving me that a computer can't? So it should be more in context so that somewhere a computer cannot go, in the car, in the store, in the hospital, somewhere where your computer typically isn't, or if a researcher is there, it's odd or it's expensive. It also highlights those mobile extras. Again, things that a computer can't do. You can barcode scan with your phone. So instead of saying just list everything that's in your shopping basket today, have them just scan the barcode. And then you have a more valid way of understanding what's in their basket. And it's a great way to highlight what mobile can do for a research project. Also, give yourself generous sample specs. I know this isn't always true depending on the industry you work in, but the higher the incidence rate, the easier and the fewer bumps you're going to have. And when it's your first mobile project, that's pretty important. Also, a lower risk project is an easier one to get buy-in for because they're going to be a little bit more willing to let you try a different research method that way. And give yourself time to watch this project. You need to become the mobile expert. So check in a little bit more often. Understand that methodology from top to bottom, backwards and forwards. Make sure you look at that final report and you know that it is going to be actionable for your team. A bad first mobile project, or one that I wouldn't suggest doing, is a high-risk project. Mobile absolutely can help with high-risk projects, and it should help with high-risk projects. But remember, as we're trying to get them to believe, high risk may not be the best way to go. Same with a niche target. You don't want to end up in a situation where you have been overpromised and underdelivered, because that just creates a lot of extra time, extra money, and a lot of disappointment. Or a tight timeline. Mobile has a pretty steep learning curve, and if it's your first project, you don't want to do one where results were needed last week already. Give yourself the time and freedom to learn mobile. And then I'm just going to leave this here, the high maintenance end client. We all know who they are. We all know why we shouldn't be working with them first for a mobile project. Now, all of these things can be fairly easily alleviated if you find the right vendor partner. And your right vendor partner really needs to be a guide for you. They are someone who has been up and down that mountain so many times. They know that trail like the back of their hand. They know where things get difficult. They know how to look for danger like bears or mountain lions or angry marketers, and they know how to handle all of it. A great guide, a great vendor partner, first of all, is familiar with the mobile space. They know the difference between and the pros and cons of an app-based research versus a web-enabled mobile research. They know how to handle an issue when you need consumers to upload data and there's no Wi-Fi signal. They're able to quickly and easily adapt when Apple decides to update their operating system when you have a survey in field, which is no joke. The last time Apple uploaded or updated their iOS, they had 4 surveys in field. All the apps stopped working. Every single vendor was able to rise to the occasion, though, and there was almost no delay in fielding. They've also done mobile before. It's great to take someone who's never done it and learn and help and teach them, but remember, you are still in this make them believe mindset. You don't want it to be their first time. They need to be very familiar with this space. And then lastly, and in my opinion, most importantly, is they need to know their research in addition to their technology. There are a lot of great tech firms out there, but that don't really know research. And that's okay, because I don't know how to build an app, I don't know how to code, but they don't know how to write a survey. They don't know how to write an actionable final report. Finding those tech firms that have invested in researchers, or research firms that have invested in technology firms, that's really what you need to look for, because they're able to give you that full service experience. And you're going to be a guide for your company as well. And one thing you need to do is aim high, like head of the company high or head of your research function high. And again, remember, show them the value. I don't know any leader worth their salt that is going to not want a research function that's moving into the 21st century, that is cutting edge, that is using new and different tools. You also need to take a 360 approach, though, and aim low. And that sounds kind of weird. I don't mean lower your bar. I mean from an org chart perspective. Aim those like more junior researchers or middle management that's actually doing the work. Anyone who wants to be a better business person or a better researcher is always looking for additional tools to add into their toolkit, another way to answer their questions. And so positioning mobile as a way to do that is just a great way to be a guide for your entire company. And then lastly, I'm going to leave you with this. This is a picture of my Badgers taken at the end of the Final Four when they ended Kentucky's undefeated season, and they were pretty proud of themselves. They made a lot of people believe. And they didn't actually win the championship, and that's sad for me because as a fan, and also because it would have made this presentation end a little bit nicer. But you know what? They believed in themselves. They made people believe. And the same goes for you. You need to believe that mobile is a better way to do research. You need to believe that mobile is worth going to bat for. You need to believe, and when you believe, it's going to be so much easier to make everyone else believe with you. Thanks.
All right, thanks, Megan. You, in no small part, made great strides in making General Mills believers in this. And my question for you is, you're at Johnson & Johnson now. Do they believe?
They are starting to believe. I am actually kicking off, or have kicked off, my first mobile ethnography project. So I found that to be quite a win only a month in. So I think so, yeah.